Okay, now everything is fine, and then I will start my presentation. Okay, I hope that you can see everything now. Perfect. Yeah, I will now give you a brief report about the Dachau concentration camp memorial site, the current situation because of COVID-19, and the new digital educational work. I will also show 2 short videos in the end and some photos that could give you an idea of our projects. And yeah, here you can briefly see a schedule of my lecture. First of all, I will talk a little bit about the history of Dachau, then about the memorial site, about the current situation, and in the end about our digital tours and our work with new media. On March 22nd in 1933, the Nazi regime opened a concentration camp on the grounds of the disused Königliche Bayerische Pulver- und Munitionsfabrik Dachau, a defunct factory complex that once produced gunpowder and ammunition. This prison and place of terror existed for 12 years. Dachau was a concentration camp and not an extermination camp. Extermination camps were, as you may know, camps like Auschwitz-Birkenau or Treblinka. Paweł Maliszewski will later talk about the Treblinka. But Dachau was not an extermination camp, it was a concentration camp, but nevertheless, the Dachau concentration camp was a quite murderous camp. More than 200,000 prisoners from over 40 nations were imprisoned in the Dachau concentration camp and its subcamps. At least 41,500 persons died here because of hunger, of illness, from the torture they suffered, were murdered, or perished from the consequences of their imprisonment. Most of them were men, but especially in the final phase of the camp, there were also young people and women. Yeah, now I will briefly show you a few photos that might give you a very, very short overview or very small overview of the 12 years in Dachau concentration camp. Here on the first picture, you can see a photo of the SS. The SS was the organization that organized and guarded the concentration camps, and this photo is showing a group of the first prisoners, or one of the first prisoners, in May 33. In the first years, the SS mainly captured political opponents in the Dachau concentration camp. The camp was smaller than today's memorial, and the SS wanted to intimidate the prisoners and stir up fear in the population so that Adolf Hitler and his party could increase their power. Other groups of prisoners were added later, and here on the second picture, you can see a table that shows the triangles that the different groups of prisoners had to wear. All of these groups of prisoners were treated badly and disenfranchised. All of them had to do hard physical labor, were given far too little food, and in some cases were tortured, abused for human experiments, and murdered. However, some of these groups tended to be treated worse than the others. To give you some examples, there were the political prisoners with a red triangle, the so-called criminal prisoners with a green triangle, people who had fled the Nazis but were sent back with a blue triangle. So like refugees today, they tried to enter other countries, but these countries sent them back and then they came into a concentration camp. Jehovah's Witnesses got a purple triangle, people who were persecuted because of their sexual orientation got a pink triangle, and so-called anti-social people got a black triangle. The group of Sinti and Roma also fell under this group with a black triangle. Jews received a yellow star symbol. I think you, of course, know these famous Jewish star. And prisoners from abroad had the first letter of their home country. So, for example, when there was a prisoner from France, for example, this prisoner had the letter F on this triangle. So the SS could immediately see why someone was trapped and terrorizing people as they pleased. But this system also created a competition among prisoners, and that was the reason why the SS did this. When the camp was enlarged shortly before the start of the war, more and more prisoners were brought to Dachau concentration camp, especially from the conquered areas in Eastern Europe. From the end of 1938, many Jewish prisoners came to Dachau. And here on the next picture, you can see a painting by the artist David Ludwig Bloch, who survived Dachau. It shows the roll call on the roll call square, and it is, this original painting is in the Dachau memorial. When you look here to the first rows, you also can see some dead prisoners, and in total more than 1,000 prisoners which are staying on the roll call square. On the next picture, you can see the former crematorium area. This is an original building today on the memorial site, and there at this place, the people were cremated from 1940s onwards. The conditions of detention in the camp became more and more catastrophic, and around 1944 and 45, diseases like typhus broke out in the camp. From January 1945 alone, over 10,000 people died in the Dachau concentration camp. Fortunately, on April 29th in 1945, the US Rainbow Division liberated the camp. In total, 41,500 people died in the Dachau main camp, and many more in one of the other sub-camps of Dachau. A memorial was only created 20 years later. The survivors had campaigned against resistance in the German population, and the memorial was finally able to open. You can see a picture at the Liberation Day. There are some very young prisoners around the age of 16 or 17. Franziska is, by the way, an expert on this topic because she did once an extra tour about the topic children in the concentration camp of Dachau. The Dachau Memorial was opened in 1965 and has changed steadily over the decades. The number of visitors has increased rapidly, especially in the last 20 years. The reason is that many international tourists from Munich come to the memorial because it's not quite far. And the visit is now something like a must visit, I would say, for schools in Southern Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg in the year 9 of school. In 2019, we had an estimated 100,000 visitors. Some people say we have more visitors. Other people say they are less than 700,000. But I think this is maybe a correct number, but we don't know it exactly because we don't count our visitors. We offer tours, day and half-day seminars, audio guides, digital seminars, and interviews with contemporary witnesses. Our offered tours are for German or international tourists, students, and special groups. For example, we are developing an extra tour for so-called Bundeswehr groups, so for German military groups. Sometimes they are also offered tours for people with disabilities. The memorial is also there to keep alive the memory of all people who were captured in Dachau or who died there. Every spring there's a liberation ceremony, and over the years the memorial has to become an international and peaceful, lively place of learning. We call it like this. The place has seen a lot and has been open almost every day since 1965. Yeah, but as you of course know, in spring 2020, however, we had to face a new challenge. And here on the pictures, you see photographs from I think 2018 or 19. A lot of people are around the area. And 1 year later, in November 2020, the place looked like this, quite empty. The Dachau Memorial had to close for the first time over several weeks at the end of March 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In November, even for several months again. So last November, 1 year ago. The otherwise very lively place was suddenly quite empty. Fortunately, we were able to welcome many groups again this summer, and in autumn there were even days when we had as many visitors as before the pandemic. Since the number of infections in Germany rose again in late autumn 21, only vaccinated people are currently allowed to enter the memorial site, and many school classes cannot come because not all students are vaccinated at the moment. Yeah, and so we have a place here at the entrance where we, you see it on the picture, where we have to check the so-called COVID pass of all the visitors. And yeah, because of this and because of the fact that the memorial site was closed for over 6 or 7 months, we had to develop new ideas within the last 18 months so that we can reach interested people even during closing times, school classes in particular. Yeah, on this photograph, you can see a slightly busier place with some visitors. And very interesting here, you see a little old man. This is a funny picture. I made it some months ago. The name of this man is Abba Naor. Abba Naor can be seen very small up there. And yeah, he's a survivor of the Holocaust and a survivor of one of the Dachau satellite camps. He speaks since 30 years very impressively in schools about his dramatic experience during 1941 and 1945. You can see it here on the picture. But his conversations, which we organize since 10 years, mostly had to be organized online via Zoom due to the COVID situation. Here you see him in front of a big screen, and he is using Zoom to speak with the students. Yeah, but that worked surprisingly quite well because, I mean, Abba Naor is very old. He's in an age of around 93. But for his age, he is quite fit and he's used to media and to computer. And so, yeah, this worked amazing. And the students were quite happy to have an opportunity to speak to one of the last survivors via Zoom. So it's better than nothing. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the work we did after the pandemic starts. Yeah, we have also broken new grounds with digital tools. We used Facebook since the April 2020 to run 70 short live tours on specific topics. And yeah, we have also done live tours in alternation with other memorial sites. For example, one tour with the Mauthausen Memorial was about the deportation routes of prisoners. I'm glad that we have Stefan Burger today with us because Stefan did once a tour together with Mauthausen on Facebook. For school classes, we carried out around 90 exclusive live tours via platforms such as Zoom or Teams, and short tours of the site or seminars with preparation and follow-up works. Yeah, and a completely new digital seminar was added on the subject of liberation. There's also an app that can be used on the premises with a smartphone. And yeah, here you can see some more slides. Yeah, here you see some examples of the task which we are using before we start a guided live tour. And yeah, another digital seminar is currently being developed on the target group oriented topic of football in the concentration camp. And these offers are also booked by international groups. We already had students from Italy and Taiwan in the last year. We have also created a website where you can see literary walks through our special exhibition about the Allach subcamp. Here's a picture from our workshop, The Liberation. Yeah, but everyday work also changed for all employees. We had to work from home, so we had a lot of in-house trainings and digital meetings. And even the international workshop series like the one today, yeah, would probably not have been held without the lockdown. The annual liberation ceremony also had to be carried out digitally. Unfortunately, the survivors couldn't be there, but many sent us impressive greetings. You see here a picture from 2015. Angela Merkel came at this commemoration to Dachau. And you see in the front also Max Mannheimer, he was a survivor of Dachau. But yeah, a commemoration like this was not possible this year and also not possible in the last year. And yeah, like I said, we used our website to show videos of the survivors, and they sent us impressive greetings. And yeah, this was of course better than nothing, but it was not the same than in the years before. Yeah, now I will show you a few exemplary photos on our advertisement and then our advertising film in the end. This film is followed by a 5-minute example of a live tour by our experienced guide, Michael Haas. It is, I will show you 5 minutes of a Facebook live tour. And yeah, Michael Haas will speak in this video about the subject of the prisoner's delivery procedure. And yeah, by the way, our tour videos can also be accessed on the Dachau Memorial channel on YouTube. And yeah, here you see more pictures. Yeah, and for the Facebook tours, we are using a smartphone and a gimbal, and it was like this when we start to do Facebook tours. We thought about how can we manage this, and we had not much money, so we used a basic system. The smartphone and a gimbal is not that much for this, but yeah, it worked. So we are happy with this so far. And now I will stop my presentation and then I show you some videos. Okay. First, our
Welcome to this presentation of the online guided tours offered by the Dachau concentration camp memorial site. By attending our online guided tours and seminars, it is possible for you to virtually visit the memorial site even during lockdown and to carry out an interactive visit from home or from the classroom. All online guided tours provide a brief overview of the history of the concentration camp and of the memorial site. Together with your guide, you will have a look at some of the exhibits in the museum and visit some external areas of the memorial site. For school classes and groups, it is also possible to organize group exercises as preparation and/or follow-up to the 90 minutes long guided tour. In particular, the seminar The Liberation enables the participants to visualize the day of liberation with the help of augmented reality. The augmented reality edition enables the visitor to observe his or her surroundings and at the same time gain further visual and audio information of the historical event. Furthermore, we present online guided tours on specific themes of the history on our Facebook page. You can find the calendar of the events on our website. The videos of the themed online guided tours are also available for later viewing on our YouTube channel Dachau Memorial. On our website, you can also find a virtual tour of the memorial site and interviews with the survivors. Our educational programs are available not only for school classes, but also for groups of young people and/or adults. Please find further information regarding our educational programs and the booking forms on our website www.kz-gedenkstätte-dachau.de.
So enough of advertising. And now I will show another video. 1 second. Like I said, 5 minutes of our guided live tour on Facebook by our guide, Michael Haas. The sound is okay.
The concentration camp Dachau was the first large systematic camp of the Nazi regime, and it became a kind of model for all of the concentration camps which were erected later. And this one was the only one which existed for nearly 12 years, from March 1933 until the 29th of April 1945. It was liberated by 2 American divisions. And the camp developed, as we will see. The situation in this concentration camp escalated, especially during wartime. So we are standing on the roll call ground now, and as you can see, this roll call ground was huge. It was built for around about 30 to 50,000 men. And here we can see the Schur house from the interior side, and if we have a look to the top, we can see one of 7 towers surrounding the camp. This was Camp Tower A, and the machine guns of the SS guards targeted to the roll call square and along the electrified barbed wire fences always. And the SS was trained to shoot immediately without, and ordered to shoot immediately without any warning. And the guard duty number 6 of the so-called disciplinary and punishment regulations, a brutal punishment code for prisoners and detailed regulations for the SS guards, said, if a prisoner attempts to escape, then he is to be shot at without warning. No guard who has shot an escaping prisoner in the execution of his duties will be punished. And this shows you the arbitrary ruling. Such a camp, this camp here was an absolutely lawless area. In the upper floor of this Schur house, you could find the offices of the so-called protective custody camp leaders. And these SS officers were crucial for the prisoners because they were in charge for so-called camp punishment. Camp punishment meant torture always. For example, prisoners had to stand here at attention for hours, but for days too, without anything to eat or to drink. But this was just one type of so-called camp punishment.
So I think the video was not that fluently, but I think for a first impression, it was okay. Yeah, that's it so far from my side. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you could have a little view on all our digital work which we are doing at the moment. And when you have questions, don't hesitate to ask to write them in the chat. And now we will start with our second presentation. Yeah, I'm very happy to have, or quite glad to have Mofidul Hoque today here with us for the second time. And it's a very special day for him and for his country, Bangladesh, because Bangladesh celebrates its 50th Victory Day today, December 16. So basically the 50th Independence Day. It is a very special day for Bangladesh, and there are many ceremonies, events across the country. Therefore, I am particularly pleased that Mofidul Hoque took the time for this lecture, and on such a special day for him and for the country. Yeah, I can assure that our thoughts are with you and the people in Bangladesh, and that you very much, thank you very much for welcoming you to our place for the second time today. And I will, before you start, I will say a few words about you. Mofidul Hoque is one of the founder trustees of the Bangladesh Liberation War Museum. He studied sociology at the University of Dachau, and the Liberation War Museum is a non-governmental museum in the Sher Bangla Nagar neighborhood in Dhaka, Bangladesh. The museum commemorates the Bangladesh Liberation War that led to the independence of Bangladesh from Pakistan 50 years ago. Exactly today, 50 years ago. Over the years, the museum collected over 20,000 objects related to the war. And in 2017, the museum moved into a new and much bigger building. So yeah, that's it so far. What you, Mofidul, I will hand over to you and say again, thank you very much that you are participating at this very important day for you and your country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maximilian, and I am very happy to be with all of you in this very special day. And can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay, then it's perfect, yeah. And also on this day, Bangladesh got liberated with the surrender of about 90,000 Pakistani soldiers. We were part of the same country, but it was almost a colonial domination, and the political, economic, military power lied in the western part of Pakistan, and it was a strange country, actually divided by two parts, separated by more than 1,000 miles geographical separation. And also the Bengali people, right from 1947, West Pakistan was established, has fought for their national rights, their language rights, their economic, cultural, and political rights. And this led to the final conflict in 1971, when the Bengalis, under the leadership of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, whom we revere as the father of the nation, and he organized and united the people, and in the first general election in Pakistan held in December 1970, his party got the overwhelming mandate and became the majority party in Pakistan. But they were not allowed to sit and frame the constitution in the Constituent Assembly. Rather, the military launched a brutal attack on 25th March 1971 on the civilian population and arrested Sheikh Mujib, and that was the beginning of the mass atrocity crimes, the genocide that has been perpetrated by the Pakistan army, and which was highlighted very much in the global media at that time. And the resistance of the people organized themselves in a very strong way, got support from India, and there was massive casualty. We say that almost 3 million people perished in the black hole of genocide. This number, sometimes there are a debate about it, but we think that one of the genocide scholars, Adam Jones, has rightly said that the number has not been proven, but it is not improbable. And also 10 million people had to leave the country to seek refuge in India. And that shows the extent of the calamity. We had at that time 75 million people, and 10 million had to leave their home. And more than 200,000 women became victims of sexual violence. So it was a very traumatic experience, but nevertheless, the people organized their resistance, and then with the break up with the India-Pakistan war that started on 3rd December, India also joined into with the Mukti Bahini, we call it, liberation fighters, and our country got liberated on 16th December 1971. So we have like the Cambodian genocide, or like the Rwandan genocide, or like the Dachau concentration camp. It's a day that it started and the particular day when it ended. It's a 9-month war of liberation. And today is the 16th December, the day when the country got liberated. And this is the 50th anniversary of our liberation. So it is a great celebration now in the country. The country has also shown great new strength in economic and social development. So people have really have cause to celebrate. So this celebration is going on all over the country, and I am happy that now we are actually sharing it with you. And this is the photograph from the first day of liberation. I think the face of the people liberated is same, and as we have seen in the Dachau concentration camp, there cannot be any comparison with the brutality and atrocity. But freedom is a cherished goal for every people, and it is good to see the smile of the people on the first day of freedom. So we have many such documents and photographs in our museum depicting the past history. And today, on 16 December, we also remember that it is a day of our liberation, and we are observing the 50th anniversary, but it is also 50th anniversary of Bangladesh genocide. And this is, I think, very important event that need to be studied and recognized more by the global community. As I have said, this has become a kind of forgotten genocide for the international community, because in the 70s, the world body was not taken up, could not taken up the issue of confronting genocide. That happened only in the 1990s. So after the Genocide Convention of 1948, there was a dark era or a silence on the genocide that has happened in between. So now when we look back to the genocide in the 20th century, especially in the post-Second World War period, I think Bangladesh genocide should make it place, and we should not allow it to be fallen from the map and bring it back. So our museum is also trying to organize various events highlighting the Bangladesh genocide and the importance of justice. In March this year, we have organized a global webinar, which started from Australia and ended in North America, in Canada, USA, and many international scholars participated. We are planning to have another such meeting, maybe in a small way, or various conferences and webinars. And we would very much like you to be part of our effort to highlight Bangladesh genocide, to study it deeply, and also to look for the reason when one community of people are engaged or in confrontation with other community, be it using various ideology, be it religion, national sentiment, or any other issues. So we have lessons to learn from our history, and I think we have also the common responsibility to address the issues of genocide. And this is what the museum is trying to do. And as I said, that it is the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh genocide, and we got liberated on 16 December. But on 14 December, just 2 days before the Pakistan army and the local collaborators surrendered, they did a most atrocious act by picking up the intellectuals from their home, the professors, doctors, journalists, and took them to a torture center, brutally tortured them, and then murdered them and dumped them at a riverside brick field. And this is the photograph when we first discovered that the intellectuals were brutally murdered. And we observe every year 14 December as the Martyr Intellectuals Day. And so there are such brutality which happened all over the country during the 9 months. And the attack on 25th March was also, they especially targeted the Dhaka University, the students' dormitory, and also brutally killed many of the leading professors and teachers. So we paid a very high price for our liberation. And that's why it is a great celebration that finally we achieved our victory. And we also try to remember all the victims and survivors play a very important role in retrieving our history and linking it with the new generation. Uh, so Liberation War Museum was established in 1996 at a two-story rented house. And as you have heard that we moved to a permanent building in 2017. And we said that it was something which was beyond our dream. We started in a very small way, in a humble way, and appealed to the community for their cooperation. And we were overwhelmed by the support. So community engagement is very strong element of all our activity. And we can plan various acts and programs we can enact with the support from the relevant people in the community. And you can see the old museum, the two-story colonial building, which have 5 small rooms where we put the display. And now this is the new building that we have enacted, and we are happy to note that there was support from the government, but we also raised public funding, and 55% of the $17 million project was provided by the government, and 45% was from the contribution from the business community, from corporate houses, and from common people, from the younger generation. We did many cultural events also to raise the funds. So we call it's a people's museum, and also it has been built with the support and contribution of the people. And now I would like to focus on especially on the issue of what we could do in the time of the COVID crisis. And also one of our major aim was to link the new generation, the younger generation, with the past history of great suffering and also great achievement. And while bringing the history to the new generation, we focus very much on the fundamental values for which our people struggled. This is Pakistan was established as an Islamic Republic. They proclaim it as the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and religious identity was the most important elements for the establishment of Pakistan. Because of Hindu-Muslim rivalry in the colonial period, the politician and colonial rulers thought that to stop the conflict, let us divide the population and the Muslims will get their own homeland. So that's how Pakistan was established. And right from the beginning, the Pakistani rulers, promoting their religious identity, has denied all kind of national ethnic identity. So Bengali people, they are very much proud of their cultural and linguistic heritage, and they have a continuity of about 1,000 years of Bengal as a self-ruled or sometime under foreign domination. But the linguistic ethnic identity was the core philosophical concept uniting the people. And in that identity, it is liberal, and it also embraced different religions. So tolerance and respect for the other religions, other identity was very important part of the struggle. And ultimately, Bangladesh was established as the People's Republic, and the 4 fundamental principles that was uphold in the Constitution is nationalism, which is our national ethnic identity, then secularism, which is in giving place to all the religions, then the social justice and democracy. So we found that tolerance and respect for other religions is very important concept, and we always try to put that into our historical understanding in our display, also in our educational program. And the museum has developed a vast network because it got a tremendous support from the community, and we could organize a mobile museum which went to the different places with a small museum inside the vehicle, and also showing a documentary film, and we found that in the educational institutions, this visit, maybe it is a one-day visit, but it created a big impact. So we could organize the teachers who became volunteers of the museum, and through them, we made an appeal to the students to interview senior members of their family, the survivors, and write down their testimony and sent it to us. So we have written account of oral history, and now we have more than 60,000 of this eyewitness account in our collection. And we found this to be a great strength of the museum, and we are processing this information in many different ways. But the attack of COVID-19, which began in our country in March 2020, has turned everything upside down, I would say. But gradually we started to learn that how to confront this crisis and how to also exploit the new opportunity that the crisis has offered us. And I think that is very important for all the museums, all the memorial sites. And we also have to close our museum. Initially, it was a shocking experience. We have to close everything. Then we could find that, well, we can open the office and we can also start thinking in a new way. The mobile bus stopped traveling, but we then found that we can organize the teachers' meeting online. And as we are looking for alternatives, we found that shifting to digital platform and connectivity can be a great opportunity for us. And so we try to look into that. And I will say that we were very much inspired by the second meeting that has been organized by Dachau concentration camp. I think it was in October last year. And we were really inspired by the experience that has been shared, and also the online educational program that Dachau concentration camp memorial site was planning at that time. And I'm very happy to see how they are now implementing it. So we also have established connection with other museums, other initiatives, and we found that we are now having a greater connectivity, which can initiate many new programs. And so new opportunity and new strength. I think that's what we have learned in this time. And we joined various global webinars organized by different regional or international organizations and shared with them various ideas. We learned much from this sharing. And then we also thought that how we can put the experience into our own reality. So this is about few of the global connectivity, actually, not so much as partnership, but connectivity, which is leading to partnership. I will just highlight few of that. One was with the Office of the UN Special Advisor for the Prevention of Genocide on developing peace education digital content. They organized an expert meeting of South Asian sites. I was part of that. And we found that we also was thinking that when we are not being able to go to the schools, to the educational institutions, let us think of digital content which can be provided to them. So this connectivity with the UN Special Advisor's Office is very fruitful. Now we are preparing the projects that how we can do that, and also getting ideas from them regarding peace education and education on tolerance. Then we also work with International Coalition of Sites of Conscience on textbook reform and transitional justice. And there are few other countries also involved with that. We have submitted our Bangladesh case study and possibilities. And the report, I think, will come up in January 2022, and we will share that with you. We are part of another multilateral initiative headed by UNESCO and University of Bristol, which involve Bangladesh, Nigeria, Peru, Tajikistan, and Lebanon on how critical approach can be actioned with case studies. This also is under preparation, and we hope that we can share it with you also. And then we have worked with Oxford University. One of our young researcher and volunteer, she participated in an online course which is confronting hatred and prevention of extremism. It was part of a anti-Semitism educational project, and she is actually preparing in collaboration with them a online course which we can offer for 4 to 8 weeks in 2022. So every kind of connectivity and contact with other initiative and experience proved to be very beneficial for us. And we look forward that from this particular session of webinar, I think many ideas will generate which we can carry forward in our own context. And as for the national initiative, we, as I said earlier, that we found that we can work on digital content. And we are now preparing and producing digital content based on national curriculum. And we are taking from the national curriculum, from the textbooks, the elements which has the historical reference and also which highlight on the diversity, tolerance, or peace education, or interfaith dialogue. So we found that in every class we have such kind of text. So we are trying to prepare the digital content which will add on with the text. And we are in discussion with the Ministry of Education so that we can provide it to them, and then they can promote it as a supplementary reading material which can be shown in the classroom. So we found that this project will have a great possibility for us. It will expand our reach in a large way. And now we are under process of preparing 10 digital content, augmenting the text. We can share with you with English subtitles, few of them with the background. Maybe in a 3-4 weeks, we will start to deliver one by one these digital contents. And also we found that as we have the teachers network, we can also use the network for mobilization of teachers and educationists to support this initiative. We are thinking of online workshop with the teachers. So we see that new possibilities has given us new strength. And as a museum, as Lütgens has also said, that we can do it with the not so expensive materials. And we have in our museum also, we have a audiovisual center with the camera and other equipments and also editing facilities. That's why we found that if we move into this area of education, promoting and developing digital content, we can do many kind of things. And we are also doing a virtual tour of our museum with the 360-degree camera, which will be ready also within a month. But we think that the kind of short tours which has been shown to us, this kind of things also we can implement. And we really look forward to the education ideas and initiative that has been taken by other sites, including Dachau concentration camp memorial site. So we are very hopeful that the new situation with the new opportunity, we found that physical reach out has its strength but limitations. If we do a program physically, the number is very limited. But with digital outreach, it can be huge. And with the digital content, we found that we are a country of 160 million. And the young population are the majority in that. And in the secondary and mid-secondary level, we have almost 10 million students. And if the digital content can be through the government reach out and change, we can provide. It is not costly. It can be duplicated in very easy way. So we can reach to a huge number of students with the concept of peace and tolerance. And this is what we think that we are excited about it, and we want to get ideas and experiences from others who are doing it. We can do teachers training to be provided online. And we are also thinking that how to engage the students. I think how you are doing the interactivity, that is also very interesting for us. So I will say that I am very happy that it's a very special day for us, and we are with right kind of partners, and we want to learn from you. We are in the learning process, and we found that the crisis opened new doors of opportunity. We want to move from physical to virtual. We will remain physical. We will do as much physical as possible, but we want to move into the virtual world with the positive concept, idea, and learning. We have learned so much during the COVID period, and we are looking to open new doors of opportunity. So thank you for your hearing, and thanks for inviting us to be part of this exercise. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was really interesting. I would like to offer anyone who's willing to answer some questions. Perhaps there's someone who has a question from the other participants. I don't know. Yes, Thomas Wagner.
Excuse me. I pushed the wrong button. There is no question.
Oh, okay. Okay, got you. Then
Thank you.
Think, no problem at all. Max, I think you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for this impressive presentation. It's always a pleasure to listen to you, Mr. Hoque. And yeah, I have two questions. The first question is, you've mentioned that that teachers do the guided tours and that they are always volunteers. Is it right? Or
not the guided tours, they join our oral history project, that they take the message to their students and inspire them to interview maybe senior members of their family about their experience in 1971 and write it down, and then they collect it and send it to our museum, and we keep contact with them for further activity we plan to do with it. We print a small booklet with the name of all the students who have submitted this oral history.
Mhm.
And this booklet we send to the teachers to be given to the students. Then from time to time, we also organize meeting of the network teachers in groups of 200 or 300 to discuss about the curriculum and teaching and learning and how the museum history learning can be strengthened. So they are very much part of our network of network. Yeah.
Yeah, we have it's a bit similar to Dachau, because we have also some teachers that are working with us, but at the memorial. Yeah. But how many employees do you have at your museum? And are they mostly volunteers, or?
The core employee we have altogether is 40, but we have many different sections. So we are mostly depend on the volunteers.
Yeah.
And they run many of the activities, and also many of the teachers who are in Dhaka, they also are part of our network. So we found that we cannot expand much in terms of the staff because of the funding and the expenses that involved, but we can depend on a lot of participation from the community of teachers, students, young scholars, researchers. In our Center for the Study of Genocide and Justice, we organize various events, and also we organize international conference on Bangladesh genocide and justice, and that is mostly organized by our volunteers. So that's our strength, that we can think big, but we are not big, we are very small.
Yeah, but I think it's amazing to have so much volunteers because they do this job by heart. Yeah, this is something very great. Yeah, I have a very personal question. I mean, we already know now that this war is only 50 years ago, and I think you can, by your own, remember this war, right? And for me, or for Mr. Maliszewski, the time we are talking about in our museums is far away for us, and we are lucky that we did not experience it. Yeah, but how is it for you? was or is that something particularly difficult when you are both a survivor of a war or a genocide and a historian? How was it in the beginning when you walked with at the museum or with this topic? Is it difficult?
Well, it was a difficult challenge that we have embraced. As I said, the museum was established in 1996. This year, we are also celebrating 25 years of our establishment. But after the independence in 1971, we have a very checkered political situation. In 1975, the leader of the liberation war, father of nation, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was brutally murdered along with his family members, and the military took power. And the perpetrators of genocide, they became part of the ruling coterie. So it was a denial of history, distortion of history that followed. And that was very painful period for all the survivors or for all of us. And we were thinking that what to do in such scenario. Then we decided that we are 8 trustees, like-minded people, that there should be some efforts for memorialization. There are efforts of memorialization in a small way, in a local way, in the people's initiative, but we think that in a larger way, as a national effort, this war and sacrifice and suffering should be remembered. And there should be a museum. And we were also understood very well that if the government established that museum, that will not be the museum of history, that will be the government version of history. Mm. So that's why we thought that we should start to do this, and we very much knew that we will not be able to establish the museum unless we get the support of the people. And so initially we rented the house, renovated it, and made the appeal just to show that it is not a declaration. We are serious about it, and we have found a place for it. And then we appealed for artifacts and documents and memorabilia. And that was the most difficult part. Initial funding we could mobilize, but we were very much worried that whether we will get enough artifacts and documents. Because anybody who will give it to us, they are preserving it for last 24 years. And very personal and very near and dear to them. And the museum is only a promise, whether they will come up with that. And we also went to other cities, made this appeal, and we were overwhelmed by what we got from the community. And there were many artifacts which tell very, very moving story, human story. So right from the beginning, we could establish a museum which actually narrated the history through documents and artifacts and memorabilia. And that also created an impact. So there was challenge when we started, but we found the right path and the cooperation and the strength. And then it is also there a rise of Islamic fundamentalism, which has attacked various shrines or places of liberal values. But because of the recognition we got from the society, and we can say that it has been recognized as an institution of national importance, and the ownership belonged to the people. So there were some threats from the fundamentalist forces, but we endured that. Now the situation is quite different. The government established in 2008 is very much for the pro-liberation values, and also there was also along with memory, the issue of truth and justice came up, and the justice issue is a major issue for our society, and especially the victims, survivors. They never allowed the issue of justice to be forfeited. In 1973, Parliament enacted an act, International Crimes Tribunal Act, to try the perpetrators. But after 1975, this was forgotten by the government. But the people carried on the struggle. And then finally in 2010, we could establish the tribunal. So we are also working in support of the tribunal and justice, and that also given the museum another kind of recognition that this institution is very near and dear to all. And also that justice issue connected the new generation also with the with the issue of the past. It is not what happened long before they were born. It is very much part of their everyday, I mean, a moving legacy, and they also own it very strongly. And I think the experience in Bangladesh in some way could become intergenerational. So we have seen many initiatives, not only our museum, in many other way, in art, in theater, in film, in literature, in many other ways, that younger generation is also very much involved with this process of memorialization. And that's why we feel that we have got the strength, the society has got the strength, that we are part of it. So the challenges were there, but now we say that for the new museum, it was beyond our dream when we started, but it has become a possibility. So it shows the strength that we have inherited. And we means a larger we, not only we who are involved with the museum building.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's amazing to hear that you're fighting since years, or a lot of years, for this museum. And then it reminds me also a bit of to the situation in Germany, because after the war we had some of these big trials like in Nuremberg or in Dachau, but then the people tried to forget about that, yeah, and it took years, and then the people tried to speak about it, and the memorial site could open and so on. And yeah, now we have again some trials with some perpetrators, but now the people are quite old, over 90 years, and it was a failure of the German judiciary that we did this so late, yeah. But yeah, it's thank you very much for this historical view on this topic. Yeah.
Maybe if I could just briefly, since I'm studying law, I'm obviously interested in how that was approached from a legal perspective. So are the perpetrators tried in a national court in Bangladesh, or in a specifically created tribunal? Maybe you could elaborate on that a bit.
Well, that's a very interesting question. Ours is the domestic tribunal. We call it domestic tribunal to try perpetrators for international crimes. That's why the title is International Crimes Tribunal Act. And what is very interesting, that after Genocide Convention, there was a call for establishment of an international court, but that never materialized. I mean, it took a long time. And in between, what happened to the genocides that occurred? So that was a question for us. And when the International Crimes Tribunal Act was enacted in 1973 in the parliament, the government has also took help of the democratic lawyers, prosecutors, some of whom were involved with the Nuremberg Tribunal. And there were Professor Otto Trifterer from Austria, then Professor Jeschnik from Munich University, Benjamin Ferencz from USA. So they also helped our lawmakers to draft the International Crimes Tribunal Act. And also we are very proud that this is the first legal document to try the perpetrators of genocide, because Genocide Convention was a convention. It was not the legal tool. And for legal tool also, there was a discussion going on within the International Commission of Jurists based in Geneva. They also in 1973 tried to address this issue and try to formulate that how the prosecution will be made, who will be the judges, how the prosecutors will be employed. But that also could not found any support from the international community, but they have this document. So finally, Bangladesh opted for national process. So we had this International Crimes Tribunal Act. And when in 2008, the government came into power, they made the promise that they will uphold the value of the liberation war and also try the perpetrators of genocide. So after almost 40 years, but taking cue from the 1973 Act, which was amended to make it more in tune with the International Criminal Court. And so it has taken experience from the later development in international criminal law and then initiated the process. But we could only try the domestic perpetrators, the collaborators who are within the Bangladesh territory, we could not try the Pakistani major criminals.
Mhm.
That's an unresolved issue, and we think that we also try to raise this issue and put it on the table, that then how you deal with those perpetrators, because International Criminal Court will not go for retrospective justice. They will only do the crimes committed after 2002. But what about the major crime of genocide? So that's a moral and ethical issue. Maybe legally it is not possible, but I think ethically we have to work for it. So we want to have partnership with international other initiative and genocide studies and justice group to address this issue.
Thank you very much. I think it's interesting that the act that created sort of the legal framework for trying the perpetrators was created so soon after the genocide occurred. Because in Germany, that's there's a long period of time between the trial that happens in Germany. I mean, international tribunal, of course, took place already in 1945, and then later the subsequent Nuremberg trials. But I think very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will continue this dialogue with you also.
That's great. Yeah. Are there more questions? Otherwise, we have time after the break. I think, yeah, now we already talked for 1 hour. I think we make a short break for 5 minutes, and then we will hand over to Mr. Maliszewski for the third presentation. Afterwards, we will have a final discussion, talk about yeah, all the presentations. Okay, so we can meet in 5 minutes again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mofidul Hoque. It was amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. Okay, I think we should move on. Is everybody back from break? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think we can start. Yeah, thank you very much, Pavel Maliszewski, that you join our workshop for the first time. At the first time that we have a colleague here with us from Poland, and this is quite interesting because I think our guides, or most of our guides, never been to Treblinka, but I know that a lot of them will really like to go there once. And it's good to have today a first view about the Treblinka Museum. Yeah, Pavel Maliszewski is an employee of the Treblinka Museum. He was born in 1995, and he is a graduate of the Warsaw University of Life Science, a student of theology and the Catholic Academy in Warsaw. He works as a Polish English-speaking guide at the Treblinka Museum. He cooperates with other museums departments in the field of translations, making an inventory of archaeological artifacts and other fields. He's interested in history, philosophy, and nature. This sounds very interesting. And yeah, I'm glad to have you here, and we'll hand over to you, Mr. Maliszewski. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to take part in the event. Okay, so I will share my presentation and we'll start. Okay, so my topic is education and memory in the Treblinka Museum and the Nazi German extermination and forced labor camp in times of a global crisis. First, I will introduce the Treblinka Museum. Then we'll talk about current educational projects and new formats. And at the end, about challenges that Treblinka will be faced soon. I will first make an introduction, and after a short introduction, I will play a film that will show the museum. In the middle of 1942, German Nazis created extermination camp Treblinka II as a part of Operation Reinhardt, as a part of final solution of the Jewish question. Camp covered about 16 hectares, and from 800,000 to 900,000 Jews were murdered there in gas chambers. Jews from Poland, Jews from Third Reich, and Jews from areas occupied by Third Reich. Camp was liquidated in November 1943. 2 kilometers from Treblinka II extermination camp, Treblinka I penal labor camp had been already existed, that operated from the late summer of 1941 to the end of July 1944. It is estimated that 20,000 men, 20,000 people went through this camp during its time of operation, and half of them, about 10,000 of them, died because of exhaustion and general conditions in the camp, or were murdered. Prisoners were initially from Sokołów-Węgrów district in Poland, but later from whole Warsaw district. They were Poles, Jews, and Roma. Prisoners worked at gravel pit, at Małkinia train station, at Bug River, as well as inside the camp in workshops. Museum complex also includes Black Road that connected both camps, gravel pit, and execution site where prisoners from penal labor camp were buried and murdered. Prisoners from Gestapo prisons from Pawiak prison and Aleja Szucha prison, and Roma were murdered and buried there. About 5 kilometers from the places I mentioned, there is also a commemoration of Treblinka train station, which is also the part of the museum. Okay, so now I will play a film that will show all I spoke about. It will be shown for the first time, actually. It is an outcome of cooperation between Treblinka Museum and people for whom Treblinka Museum have a great meaning and is important. They are artists and general specialists. And here are their names. They are not employees of the Treblinka Museum. Okay. So okay, I hope I managed to share sound.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to current educational projects and formats in the Treblinka Museum. A new educational format in the museum is the commemoration of the Treblinka train station, which for many years was the subject of efforts made by local residents as well as employees of the museum and other people from Poland and abroad who were aware of the importance of this place. Among them was a Bildungsweg, Stanisław Hans from Kassel, and this is this train station. In response to social appeals in 2018, Mazowieckie Voivodeship self-government loaned for a use a plot of land to the Treblinka Museum, which was the part of the former train station in the village of Treblinka. Basing on historical analysis and archaeological prospections of the area made by Warsaw University of Technology, one of not existing railway spurs was marked out, where wagons with deported Jews and Roma were waiting to be rolled on the railway platform on the Treblinka to extermination camp. The place was commemorated accordingly to the idea of the director of the Treblinka Museum, Edward Kopówka, in consultation with museum employees. An embankment was built, referring to the liquidated siding, on which symbolic concrete railway sleepers and information boards were placed. The aim of the Treblinka Museum is to restore the memory of this place. On November 25, the memorial plaque of Jan Maletka was unveiled. He was a 21 years old railwayman who was shot dead by a German guard while giving water to Jews who were kept locked inside death trains that were used to transport them to Treblinka too. This plaque actually sparked a wide discussion on the internet. The station is the place that opens up new educational possibilities. The fate of the victims was already determined in the area of the extermination camp. At the Treblinka train station, we can show a wider spectrum of people's behavior, of the local population, of railwaymen, victims, perpetrators, people who traveled on this line as well. We can evaluate behaviors of all these groups, tell individual stories, and conduct workshops there. Next, another new educational format is the idea of the Kodrak Forest. And the idea arose in 2020 on the initiative of the Treblinka Museum and the Polish Janusz Korczak Association. And the aim of this project is to commemorate Janusz Korczak, all those who cooperated with him, and his pupils who lost their lives in the Treblinka II extermination camp. As a part of the planting, as a part of planting of the Kodrak Forest, the Treblinka Museum, together with Janusz Korczak Association, make contact with schools and institutions for which the pedagogical approach of Janusz Korczak have a great meaning. And we invite them to plant trees and organize annual meetings in order to symbolically water them. At each tree is a plaque with an information about respective facility and a motto or a selected quote referring to Korczak teachings. While the visit representatives of institutions have the opportunity to visit the Treblinka Museum, have a guided tour, and take part in the museum lessons associated with the Korczak thought. Online lessons. In June this year, the Treblinka Museum launched museum classes. In this project, teachers and educators can book lessons for their students. The lessons are aimed at primary schools students aged 13 to 14 and secondary schools. Classes last half an hour and are conducted via online platforms. During the lessons, the most important issues concerning the history of the camps are discussed. And below we have example topics of the lessons, like history of Treblinka II and Treblinka I, Janusz Korczak life and work, and German occupation seen through the eyes of a child. Temporary exhibitions. In addition to the existing permanent exhibitions, the museum also make temporary exhibitions that are presented outdoor at the Treblinka Museum and on the internet. Exhibition catalogs are also made. And example exhibitions are Janusz Korczak, the King of Children, from Michałówka to Treblinka. This is an exhibition that describes Janusz Korczak, who before the Second World War had rested on summer camps with students near Treblinka. The exhibition also describes people who cooperated with him and their teachers. Next example exhibition is Treblinka train station between life and death. I don't have a photo of this, but the idea of the exhibition is to let the witness of the history speak, which is why it is based on selected quotes from published memories of Franciszek Ząbecki, who was the station master at Treblinka train station, and he also testified at post-war Nazi trials. Next exhibition is penal labor camp Treblinka I, to see the invisible. To see the invisible. The exhibition shows in contemporary photos the places that former prisoners of penal labor camp Treblinka I told about in their accounts. It is about places where terrifying scenes took place and which were the everyday camps alive. The museum often lent exhibitions to other institutions. Next year, the Treblinka Museum plans other temporary exhibitions on the 80th anniversary of the shooting of about 100 people brought from Gestapo prisons, from Pawiak and Aleja Szucha prisons, and on the 80th anniversary of the death of Janusz Korczak. International conference. The Treblinka Museum also organized a hybrid international conference, Treblinka Wants and Reminds, this year, which was held on the 80th anniversary of the establishment of the Treblinka I penal labor camp. The event was held at the turn of May and June, lasted 2 days, 27 lectures were delivered in 6 modules. There were guests from Germany as well, who delivered lectures, Mr. Mike Rischel, Mrs. Beate Stolberg, Mr. Stefan Henschen, and Mr. Florian Hoss. And the conference was held in a hybrid formula, on-site and online. It was also broadcast on Facebook. It's worth to mention that the museum employees participated in 5 conferences this year, organized by other institutions. Audio guide. This year, in addition to already existing audio guide Treblinka II, the Treblinka Museum launched the audio guide Treblinka I. It is the historical path for individual tours around Treblinka I, available for free in Google Play or App Store. The application can be downloaded to a smartphone in advance or when visitors are already on the premises of the Treblinka Museum. The path consists of 19 points that lead the user through the post-camp areas of the Treblinka I penal labor camp. The audio guide is available in Polish and English. Visitors can listen to it at home as well. From this year on, the audio guides cover both post-camp areas. Increase in online activity. In addition to the aforementioned temporary exhibitions, which are also posted on the internet, the Treblinka Museum increased its online activity through, among others, increasing activity on Facebook. There are posts almost every day. The website of the museum also offers a virtual tour where visitors can visit the museum without leaving homes. Let's move on to challenges. The challenge that will be faced by the Treblinka Museum in the near future will be the construction of the new museum building. On the November 29th, 2021, so this year, the results of the single-stage architectural contest for developing an architectural and urban concept for the task titled Construction of an Exhibition and Educational Facility on the Premises of the Treblinka Museum have been announced. 31 competition entries were submitted for the competition. The winner was the entry submitted by Bujanowski Architects. The project was the most attractive in terms of architectural solutions, land development, functional and operational efficiency of the facility, feasibility and economical solutions adapted, especially in terms of operating costs and the use of pro-ecological and energy-saving solutions. The challenge for the Treblinka Museum will be to build this building and to create exhibition that will meet the needs of the contemporary visitors. Pedagogical workshops. Next challenge is to organize pedagogical workshops and conduct them in a way that is accessible to and tailored to the needs of the young. The challenge is to select accounts and testimonies, attract attention of the young, choose the right way to reach them and involve them in an active participation in workshops. To do this, Treblinka Museum focuses on discussing the topic using individual stories. We show a wider spectrum of people behaviors and evaluated. The Treblinka Museum was completely destroyed. So it is particularly difficult task. Thanks to the conducted researches, we can, with a certain probability, determine the former location of individual camp structures and tell individual stories connected to them. An invaluable this is a commemoration of the Treblinka train station, where, as previously mentioned, we can show a wider perspective of the times when the camps operated. Another challenge is the decline in visitors' numbers. In the last decade, the number of visitors ranged from 43,000 to 65,000. The COVID-19 pandemic caused a significant attendance decrease to 16,000. This means an almost fourfold drop compared to the previous years. The challenge is the dissemination of knowledge about the memorial site, development of new ways and formats of reaching to people, and improvement of the existing ones. So thank you very, very much. That's all of my presentation. And I don't know how to go back to my view, to the view of my face.
Maybe on top there should be a button for stop the presentation.
I think there's like a green stripe and it says screen sharing ending.
Okay.
Like that.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Good.
Yeah, also thank you also from my side for that very interesting presentation. I personally wasn't aware that Treblinka was so huge in terms of dimension. I mean, I didn't know that it was large, but not that large. One question, if I may. You said that the movie that you've shown us is new. So how do you plan to use it? Will it be shown in the museum or distributed or in classes?
It will be shown in the new museum building, certainly. Yeah, when it will be built. Yeah, and as a general introductory film, but we will see. There is no such decision what to do it. We think, and it will be used in many ways, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe also if some of the others, Stefan, you have a question, please go ahead.
Thank you, Pavel, for your very interesting presentation. And I have two questions. And the first one would be, how are you counting the visitors? Because up to the times before COVID, there was absolutely free access to Dachau Memorial Site. So there are some only kind of estimates the second questions is about I didn't completely understand this Janusz Korczak forest project. I'm a biologist myself. I'm not a historian. I'm a biologist, so it's very interesting. But I didn't understand completely where you planted the trees and what are you doing with the plant and what's the idea behind it. So maybe I just didn't get it, but maybe you can add some more words to it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we have parking at information point, and workers who count visitors. So that's why that's how we know numbers. As for Kodrak Forest, the idea, as I said, is to commemorate Janusz Korczak, pupils and the people who cooperated with him. Planting a tree is an occasion for pedagogical workshops to young people, to teach them, and it is an occasion for annual meetings as well. It is all about workshops and spread knowledge about Janusz Korczak, especially to the young. Yeah, and planting a tree also engaged young people to do something. Yeah, it's a tree that they have to care about or want to care about, actually. Yeah. So
you who is choosing? You're planting one tree for one person who was murdered there?
No.
Or who decides which person or which occasion is and on what side? Is it a special site, and are they preparing it with some whatever with some documentation, or is the label on the tree where it's written it's planted by this class and for those people?
Yeah, schools contact with us. And if they want to do this, they just come to us and we plant a tree. Each school has its own tree to care about. Yeah, so the more schools contact with us, the more trees are planted, and trees are planted in the area of the Treblinka Museum. Not on post-camp areas, of course, but in the area.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Your questions are answered, Stefan. You're all fine then. Yes,
I think I have to go there and have a look at the trees and plant one for myself.
Max, then you can go ahead.
So sorry, I had some Wi-Fi problems. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for this impressive presentation and this emotional movie. You showed us a picture with German tourists or German students from Magdeburg, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of German tourists there, or where are the most tourists from Israel or Poland or Russia?
Yeah, we don't count nationalities actually, because it's almost impossible. But first of all, visitors visit us from Poland. That's obvious, and yeah, from Israel, from Germany, from Great Britain, Sweden, Denmark. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. In Dachau, in the first years when we had the memorial site, or well, I think till 2010, I would think, no one of the guides could speak about the perpetrators. It was not forbidden, but it was not common to speak about them. We also only spoke about the victims and so on, and about the history in general. When you make tours with students, do you speak about the perpetrators? Because I know in Germany, for example, there are a lot of questions. How was it possible? How could the Germans or the SS do something like this? Is it a big topic as well?
Yes. I have a part that I talk about trials. Yeah. Yes. So there is. So yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned these international conference. Are you doing this next year or in 2 years again, or how are the plans?
Plans are to organize the conference when new museum building will be open.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Maybe also one more question from my side. So when do students in Poland learn about the history of the Holocaust? Is that included as a mandatory topic into the history curriculum, or when do they approach the topic?
Holocaust topic is in educational program in schools, but it is not mandatory to go to memorial sites. Yeah. So if a teacher would like to be here, he just ask the director of a school and they go to the memorial site, but it is not mandatory.
So the majority of visitors are students from Poland, I suppose. Yeah.
We have many groups in September or October from schools. Yeah. Probably yes, about a half. Hard to say. Of the visitors are students.
Thank you.
Welcome.
There are some more questions to Mr. Maliszewski. I think, thank you very much, Mr. Maliszewski, for the presentation. I think we learned a lot about the history of Treblinka, about the area, and about the work which you are doing there every day, especially now at these special situations. Thank you very much. Yeah,
you're welcome. Yeah. And thank you again for having me.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome. So yeah, then I think we come to a final round. I think maybe every one of us can say a few words. I mean, Mofidul already said this at his presentation. We have a very special situation now, a situation with a lot of challenges, but it's also a kind of chance, because like I said, also in Dachau, before this pandemic, we did nothing on YouTube or Facebook and so on, and conferences like this were not possible. And then everything changed in some weeks, So it is of course not the same. I mean, at the moment when the memorial site of Dachau was closed, it was very sad because we could not do our work at the area, and we missed it quite much. But yeah, I mean, for the next pandemic or the next lockdown, we are better prepared than last time, I would say, and this is something good. And it's good to have the opportunity like today to speak with colleagues from around the world. And this is something very special. And I think we always should think positive to the future and stay negative. And yeah, what do you think, Mofidul and Mr. Maliszewski, about next year, for example? Do we have new ideas for 2022, or do you think that we have an easier situation? I don't know about the current situation in your countries with COVID, but yeah, what are your thoughts about next year?
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you continue, Pavel, then I will join.
Yeah, for next year, so we will see. Actually, as I said, we have challenges to solve for now. Certainly, we will continue pedagogical work and develop it. And this new museum building and decrease with visitors numbers. I think we will see, actually, because the situation is, I mean, is changing. So certainly, as it was in a presentation before, yeah, as you said, it is a new opportunity and a new situation, and of course, COVID-19 is a bad situation, but it also opens up new possibilities. But to answer more precisely to your question, as I said, new exhibitions, new outdoor exhibitions on the 80th anniversary of Janusz Korczak's death and anniversary of 100 people who were shot from Pawiak prison and Aleja Szucha prison. Yeah, and increasing in online activity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, for us, we see many possibilities, and I think that's very important for our nation. Also, that as a museum, we find it very interesting to move into the digital platform, but also in our education system, during the shutdown or the closure of the educational institutions, the government has taken a massive effort to continue online teaching, and both the private and public schools and higher institutions now is very much engaged in online teaching. So online platform is now became a very important platform for disseminating information, and that's why we think that we as a museum, we are always physical, virtual, but we have to be also in the virtual platform. And we've also found it that we have the strength. It's not very costly actually to develop like the film that has been developed by the Treblinka Museum. We also have similar possibility to outsource, or young filmmakers or talented filmmakers can be encouraged also to do such kind of short documentary. We have also initiated a short program to teach the students that how to make a 1-minute film with your smartphone. So we found that there are many possibilities, and the ideas actually drive this this program. So we highly appreciate this connectivity, and we would like to continue this dialogue that has been initiated and share our experience with all of you. And we find, for Treblinka, we find it very interesting that all traces has been wiped out, including the railway station or whatever structure was there. But out of the vacuum, Treblinka Museum is coming up. And I think that's also, we have also many sites like that, maybe a torture center which has been completely destroyed. So this kind of experience is also very illuminating. And as we are now very much engaged in digital content, we think in January, February, we will prepare a number of digital contents and see how it works with the student and teaching community, and also how we can make it more interactive with the experience that you are doing, making the museum visit a virtual experience, not only with a virtual museum. We found that sometimes that may be not so exciting, but to have a kind of classroom exercise, taking one school or one class for a virtual tour guided by a staff, I think this kind of things can be also, we can use in our scenario. So I found it very illuminating session, and we hope that we will continue this exercise, and we can also approach Goethe Institute in Dhaka and share this with you jointly, maybe, that we are engaged in such work. And I think the financial support is not very important, but recognition of the work is very important for us. So we can work more strongly with the government, with the Ministry of Education, that we think is very essential. And we hope we can continue this work at a higher level. And thanks for sharing the experience with us. We are really, really grateful to all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I totally agree. We will go on with this cooperation work. And yeah, like you said, also in Dachau, we are planning new digital ways. And like you said, it is good to make some preparation work, digital preparation work in schools before they come to the different museums. Yeah, and for example, I have a colleague, she is working on TikTok videos, or she think about TikTok videos. I know this is something very difficult or dangerous when you talk about a topic like Holocaust or a concentration camp, but it's also a way you can think about. Yeah. So yeah, new type of digital works are coming. Yeah, but anyway, like you said, it was very nice, very interesting to hear your lectures and to discuss with you. And yeah, I invite both of you, Mr. Maliszewski and Mr. Hoque, to Dachau in the future. Maybe in the next years. Yeah, it is possible. I hope so. And I will definitely come in the future to Treblinka in Poland, and also to Bangladesh. I hope so, to see your places when it's possible after COVID. And yeah, I invite everyone, all of the participants as well, for our next round. I think the date is, Franziska, it's the 19th of January, right?
Yeah, I think we said the 19th. Yeah.
Then we will do the next round of an international workshop. I will write you, of course, an email with all the informations. We will have some more speakers there. And of course, we will invite you, and we can go on with the discussion then, of course. And yeah, it was a pleasure. And finally, I say thank you very much. Yeah, Merry Christmas to Poland, and yeah, Happy Liberation Day to Bangladesh. Enjoy the night, enjoy this special day, and thanks for Franziska for the discussion and all the everything you've done. And yeah, thank you very much for all participants as well. And yeah, I hope that we see each other quite soon again on Zoom or on the different places, maybe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And yeah, have a good time in the last weeks of the year 2021. Yeah. And then a good start in the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
Okay.